Good morning, there we go, typical me, I haven't unmuted myself. I am just sorting one small technical problem here, which actually will not stop the show today, but actually I can't see any of the tiles. So on my little production suite, when I'm talking to you, I have all these little pictures and images I can use to share, and I actually can't see them, which is going to make life a little bit more interesting, but I tell you what, I am going to make this work because, well, I'm me. And good morning to all our wonderful people I see coming online. We've got Lynette there. Good morning. Dean's asking, it's kicking off, India and Pakistan. Maybe. Yeah. It's funny, I was travelling, as people probably know, in the Middle East and Israel, and actually I was with 4 people from India. And what was interesting is by and large, I was like everything, there's different perspectives. So I wasn't necessarily going to talk about India and Pakistan, but long and short, they felt something had to be done. That was their, I suppose the hope is that, the likes of Pakistan doesn't fight back too much. But it'll be interesting. We've seen this before, Dean. They'll trade some blows and then pull back. But the big risk, of course, is that it escalates. This is the problem with all and every war. But yeah, not good. But I feel, well, the Indians I was with felt that something had to be done, some sort of reaction. Good morning to Trinity. Wonderful, Jackie, always lovely to have you back there from Raitihi, lovely. We've got the Whitianga Peninsula, Philippa, welcome, lovely to have you here. To Darren, lovely to have you along. We've got Chris there from Waipukurau today. Well, that is great. I'm used to Chris telling me about lovely Napier. We've got Rosie down there in Taupo, still chilly by the sound of it, and certainly overcast here as well. And Anne-Marie there in Whanganui. Lovely to have you all along. Thank you, guys. It really is pretty cool. Oops, I've hit the wrong button again. I'm hitting buttons left, right, and centre in the wrong way, guys. That's me today. DD is asking about, so this is about Mark Carney, the new Prime Minister of Canada. He replaced Trudeau and then recently beat Pierre Paul. Oh my God, I've even written about the Conservative leader, Poilievre. I'm going to say it wrong, but let's just call him Pierre. Yeah, I thought actually it went quite well for both men. So Mark Carney went and visited Donald Trump in the White House, and I don't think either did a bad job. In fact, I think my quick take, DD, is that Carney did very well, held to his lines around Canada. It's not for sale. We're not going to become part of the United States. We don't like your tariffs. So we didn't like any of that. But, enough flattery, too, of the Americans and American people. So I personally thought that was actually quite good. And Trump's Trump. You stroke his ego, all's well. Yeah, there's a bit of bluster. But this is, as a quick side note, it's more foreign affairs. We'll turn to some more local things soon. But I think Trump talking about Greenland, talking about Canada, it is, for me, bluster. I literally have no concern whatsoever. That literally American troops are going to invade Canada or the like. It's just not going to happen. But as I say, Trump likes his bluster. Catherine, lovely to have you here. Got Adrian, if I've read this right, from Switzerland. I can imagine it's very, very cold. But guys, as I say, always neat to have you along. I'll be a little slower this morning because, as I say, the various tiles that I have are not displaying. So I've got to do a little workaround. I thought actually I'm going to start with a promotion. As you know, we've got this forum on the family. This is a big event for us every year. And for all who attend, we have around, in fact, not just around, we have more than 600 people attend, which is bigger than any political conferences that you know of. So this is big. We have an amazing array of guests. So I'm actually going to, maybe surprise you with one set, but I'll give you the short promo that Bob Gordon and the team have put together, and then I'll give you a quick message from, I hope, a surprising but a welcome guest.
The Forum on the Family is one of the premier family conferences held each year with international and national speakers and political leaders. Hosted by Family First New Zealand, the Forum brings together a national network of family-focused organisations, scholars, lobby groups, church leaders and community groups who are part of a growing movement to bring New Zealand to a point where families are strengthened, marriage is honoured, life is protected and religious freedom is defended. This year's conference will again be held at the Dewdrop Event Centre in Manukau City, not too far from the Auckland Airport, on Thursday 28th of August and Friday 29th of August. Yes, because of demand, we're starting the conference earlier with 3 important sessions and a time of networking on the Thursday evening, and then a full-day program all day Friday. This year's theme is Courage at a Cultural Tipping Point. The culture is slowly but surely waking up to the harmful effects of the radical left-wing agenda and the destruction of family values that we all hold dear. Some countries have even figured out how to define a woman. And at this year's conference, once again, we have an amazing lineup of brave speakers from the US, Canada, Australia and New Zealand. Dr. Miriam Grossman last spoke at our forum in 2012. You may also recognise her from the recent Daily Wire documentary, What is a Woman? But more recently, she's released an important book on the transgender agenda. I'll be doing a live interview with Dr. Grossman from New York, where she is based. Jeff Johnson is an issues analyst for Focus on the Family in the United States. We're also very excited to have Dawn Hawkins discussing the issue of pornography and sexual exploitation. From Canada, we have Amanda Ackman bringing us a warning about the slippery slope of euthanasia. From Australia, we have Kirralie Smith, a wife, a mother, and an activist for biology and truth, but who is paying the price for speaking up. And for the first time in New Zealand, you will get to hear their side of the story. Israel and Maria Folau. Now, we're hoping that they'll be able to attend in person. They're keen to be here, but it does depend on Israel's rugby schedule in Japan. But either way, we'll get to hear from them personally and not via the hostile mainstream media. And finally, we're hosting and recording a special episode of Straight Talk before a live audience at the conference. It'll be a lively discussion and you can be part of that live audience. I want to invite you to this year's Forum on the Family. It starts Thursday night, 28th, 6 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. and then all day Friday, 29th, from 8:45 a.m. through to 4:30 p.m. It's the highlight of the year and you don't want to miss it. Arrange to be there. Book your flights today. Gather your friends. If you're concerned for our culture, our country and our families, you may be saying, what can I do? Well, step 1, attend the Forum on the Family. Have your spine stiffened by some fabulous speakers who will encourage, equip and inspire you. Now, the last couple of years have been sellouts, so don't delay. Go to our website, forumonthefamily.nz, for all the information you need. Register today. Don't miss this important family conference. Go to forumonthefamily.nz. Register today.
Well, there you go. That was the short promo. That was the short promo. But look, I think you get a sense, look, if you've been to our forum before, you'll get a real sense of just how amazing the speakers are, the networking. And as Bob says, to stiffen one's spines. And in fact, that's what makes all of us, including all of us here, listening and watching this morning, we are sort of those seeds, if you will, into society, which do bring around the cultural changes. You'll know that there's now a bill in the parliamentary ballot around defining a man and a woman. That was something that, Family First, along with many, if not all of you, petitioned and supported, and it's bringing about change. Just quickly, before I show another guest, Harrison, lovely to have you along. And Sonny was saying, where is it? Here we go. Sonny was suggesting something wasn't quite correct about the Canadian election. Could well be right. My own sense is it was correct, a little bit in the same way that, believe it or not, the election that elected Jacinda was right. Well, not right, wasn't right. It was a terrible outcome, but in terms of, there was no shenanigans is what I'm trying to say. And the same with the Canadians. I think that the big issue there is Canadians were worried about the economy, and they thought that this former banker, Mark Carney, would do a better job. And the other, and I wrote about it in a Substack only a couple of days ago, that the Conservatives just weren't able to pivot. They weren't nimble enough to change their... they weren't able to change. Nicola, lovely to have you here. Lovely Tauranga. I've got to go. Well, Rachel and I have a place at the Mount, so we try to get there. Try is the operative word. Not as much as we'd like. And look, Rosie's nailed. In fact, I've just put out a Substack, which I will reference because Bob and I will be talking more about it tonight. But what Rosie's mentioning here is on Tuesday, the government rushed through pay equity legislation under urgency. And by and large, without getting into too much, pay equity is looking at the lowest paid jobs predominantly by women. And then once they've decided that this low paying category of work is inequitable, they then compare it to, often not quite random, but to other professions and say, well, these cleaners should really be paid as much as this physicist or whatever. I'm making it up for exaggeration. Anyway, the government rammed it through, which I write about actually on, where is it? This is why, there we go. I write about it actually, it's only gone live in the last hour or so that I published it. Long and short, the government doing it makes sense to me at one level, but I don't like how they did it. But one of the funniest things, and it's what Rosie's getting at, is particularly from the opposition, from Labour, all of a sudden they know what a woman is, and it is quite funny. So you're on the money. You're on the money there, Rosie. So again, most of the low-paying jobs that these equity claims focus on are women's professions. And so, even the minister putting the bill through was the one that pushed law through that falsifies birth certificates. So pretty much a whole number of MPs, from the minister to Chris Hipkins, have finally worked out what a woman is. It is, again, I think quite amusing. But anyway, that's my latest Substack. I could have entitled, I've called it Sniff Test, which is probably, people go, ugh. But I thought too, I could say it's around the how and not the why. So I understand why the government's done it, and I'd touch on that briefly, but how it was done, I'm not comfortable. So Bob and I are going to be talking about that more tonight, because as you know, he and I run political... As I say, for those coming on, if I seem a bit slower today, it's because all the images are not displaying, so I'm sort of having to guess. Bob and I are going to be on at 5 o'clock tonight. And we'll be talking around the likes of the pay equity. We'll be talking about that social media. In fact, it's sort of gratuitous advertising that I've got the political playback mug this morning. The reason for that is not this advertising. It's because clearly someone in my family likes my solid ground mug, and I can't find it. But actually, just mentioning political playback tonight, as I say, we're going to be talking about... where has it gone? As I say, it's very hard to find something when you can't. It sounds ridiculous. It's all just black squares. There we go. So we'll be talking about this pay equity. We'll be talking about the social media proposed ban for under 16-year-olds. Bob and I actually have slightly different perspectives on this, so come and hear us debate and argue, so to speak. We'll be talking about this minister sending work emails to her personal email. Is it really a big issue or not? We'll touch too on the Māori Party. They're always trying to get the news, but they're giving the giant middle finger. To the Parliament itself while talking about tikanga and processes. So there's a lot to discuss tonight, so I'm not going to actually double up on it, so to speak, by doing it all this morning. And look, I think, DD, you're making a good point. I would argue all the parties have double standards. When they're in opposition, they'll scream about things, and when they're in government, they change their tune. What I wrote about and have written about this morning in this little piece. So for people who want to, jump onto substack.com or send me an email and I'll give you the details. But long and short, I don't think the optics look good. It's targeting the lowest paid workers in order to, inverted commas, save billions, so they can then spend it on other things like, well, military helicopters. I don't think it's a good look. I don't like the pay equity system in general. Again, I touch on it in the article because it's somewhat arbitrary how they decide. They go, well, we've decided this profession is inequitable, by and large based on gender or biological sex. And then it's how do you make comparisons? And I think probably what the government's seen in the background is literally billions and billions of dollars of extra costs coming through that all of a sudden you're going to have to pay carers more, cleaners more, nurses more, teachers more. It just, in a way, probably is an avalanche coming. So I suppose as a centre-right man, I sort of understand why they might have done this. I just don't like how they've done it. And Dean says that even if they save the money to be squandered, well, it was something we used to laugh about when I was in Parliament, guys, and maybe it was an arrogance on our centre-right belief, but National would go in and tidy up the books, get things in order like Bill English, John Key did, for example, tidy things up, start some savings. I remember when we lost government, we had an $11 billion surplus, and then it's Labour comes, and I think by and large voters think National's good for tidying things up, and Labour's good for spending. Jackie's asking about the panellists tonight, so this is about political playback. So it's just Bob and me, I'm sorry to say. We've sometimes had guests when Bob or I can't make it, but we have the full panel on a Monday night, so that's straight talk. So that's when you have the likes of Alfred Naur or Christine Rankin, Sue Reid and others, and myself from time to time. But political playback is pretty much Bob and me. As I say, a full array of things to discuss. Look, very quickly, because time is ticking away, I promised I was going to give you a little preview, not just of the forum that I was talking about earlier, but one of our amazing speakers. So here you go.
Hey guys, I'm Israel Folau.
And I'm Maria Folau.
And we're looking forward to sharing our story with you at the upcoming forum on the family in August.
It'll be the first time that we share our side of the story with you in New Zealand. We're excited to tell you about our experience, how much it has strengthened our faith, our marriage, and we hope that you feel very encouraged by it. We may be there, we may not be there, but if we're not, we'll do an interview with Bob, and we hope you enjoy it.
How awesome is that going to be? So I have deliberately switched photos, but I just think that's going to be awesome. And actually, you know what? Really important that they get to tell their side of the story. It's important that they tell their side of the story. And I think it'll be great. Bob's a fantastic interviewer. Hey, I put this one up. It comes out of the United States. Again, just a little bit of a hint that things are changing. This is actually a very esteemed doctor in the area of adolescent psychology and psychiatry. And long and short, he's had his reputation dragged through the mud and his job, taken away from him because he dared to speak up years ago saying, look, around gender dysphoria, the answer really is to work with them on the psychological side, not to start actually filling them full of toxins and doing physical experiments on them as children. So he said, look, this is the gender ideology which is becoming pervasive is not good. And he also mentioned how bad it was that scientists were basically being shut down by zealot activists. Well, long and short, he's just won his case because once he started speaking out, and not particularly aggressively, just as an academic at his university, he found all of a sudden people wouldn't talk to him. He didn't get promotions. In fact, he got demoted, and eventually his contract was cancelled and harassed. So he joined a group called the ADF. It's the Anti-Defamation... No, ADF. Oh, my Lord, I forgot what it stands for. There we go. What a morning. ADF, they are doing amazing work. In fact, they sort of are a bit like the Ethos Alliance here in New Zealand. They stand up for people's conscience and religious rights. But they took his university to court, and he won. And so a huge win in and of itself. First and foremost, because people are allowed to have a view. People are allowed to have a view. They're allowed to discuss things as they perceive them. So a really big win for him. On the really sad front, I'm not going to leave this for long, but I think it's beyond disgusting. This was Wellington yesterday. If you don't think anti-Semitism is rife in New Zealand or being fueled by the likes of the Green Party, you're wrong. I mean, this is just vile stuff at a whole number of levels. And look, kudos, I've seen the likes of Minister Chris Bishop, I've seen Sam Uffindell, so some MPs actually publicly commenting, which I think is really important. This is like a toxic cancer. If that's not a tautology, it's like a toxic cancer in our society. Anti-Semitism has always been there. It's one of those legacies. Oh, Rosie's helped me out here. ADF is the Alliance defending. Thank you, Rosie. I was having a terrible mind blank. I even know Paul Coleman and the crew that actually run it. I've just spoken about them so often as the ADF that I've forgotten. And Catherine, as you said, it is disgraceful. But this is being fueled, and maybe that's just the quick point I want to make. I'm going to take it down because I don't think we need to keep it up for too long. And a side note from Dean. Is it Dr. Mooney or someone was one of the New Zealand doctor that started all this gender nut craziness, and it was an abuser himself. It was terrible. As Dean's saying, he's a psychologist who, I think in the 50s or maybe it was the 60s, started to say there's different genders and we can change. I think he took some twins, maybe it was his own, and basically tried to force one to be a girl or a boy. The whole other way around. It was just a giant mess, absolute giant mess. But back to that awful sign in Wellington, or graffiti. It says anti-Semitism is one of those tropes that just doesn't disappear in society, but it's been fueled at the moment by the likes of the Green Party and others, and it's just beyond despicable. And Jamie's noted here that the Greens were tossed out in Australia. Yeah, I thought so too. I think it's probably, Jamie, one of the reasons Labor did so well is, well, first and foremost, people were rejecting the extremism of the Greens. They're the same here in New Zealand. Just like the Greens in New Zealand who run around screaming about imported culture wars. They're busy playing, dress-ups with terrorist garb and arguing about wars overseas. The Greens in Australia, as you'll know, and some others will know, were deeply trying to pull in particularly Muslim votes based around Palestine. And I think a lot of people went, you know what, actually we're here about Australia. We're not here to be fighting, if you will, other people's wars or battles. And so then I think a lot of Green Party voters went and voted for Labor, which is one of the reasons you've got the result in Australia you do. I think it's similar, in my mind, to what happened here in New Zealand 2 elections back when National got absolutely thumped. Is actually, and I was there at the time, we looked so utterly useless, to put it in, not too fine a words, that people went, National's completely stuffed. We just need to make sure that there's a strong, in this case, Labor government against the Greens, because there was a real concern back then. It must have been was it 2020? God, I lose track of the dates. I'm having quite the morning. But a few years back, National looked completely useless. Labor looked like it might not be able to govern alone because they'd need the Greens. The Greens were going strong, and you saw in the last days and weeks, not only did a lot of people who were flirting with Labor decide, hey, we better just vote for Labor, but actually a whole lot of Nats went and voted for Labor too. They went, well, National's no good. We better make sure that Labor wins well. Dennis, lovely to have you here. I'm all over the place this morning. Dennis knows about podcasting and recording and media, and I've been saying to people this morning, Dennis, my entire production suite is basically just black screens, little black screens. Normally there's images and words which allow me to work out what's going on. It's all just black screens. So far we're getting it together. Jareen is right, 2020, thank you. Maybe, Jareen, I'm so traumatized I've forgotten. Yeah, that's all. I'm just looking. DD says Marxism's anti-Christian. Well, it is. And I'd probably go as far to say it's not just anti-Christian. I'm probably splitting hairs here, but it competes with. One of the reasons cultural Marxists hate Christianity, do everything they can. It's happening in the state of New South Wales in Australia at the moment. They're trying to pass a law. In fact, Tony Abbott was there last night speaking against it, amongst others. They're trying to pass a law that says that there are no longer conscience rights around the issue of abortion, which means that a doctor, a nurse, anyone who says, look, this is not something I agree with morally, or I have a religious conviction, so if they're Christian or Muslim, for example, they can't object. They'll be sacked and fired. And as Tony Abbott pointed out quite rightly, this is a direct attempt to force particularly Christians as individuals and their hospitals and services out of the public square. It's a rampant bigotry, if you wanted to put it quite bluntly, but it is fueled by the likes of cultural Marxism. And it hates religion because Marxism wants to be its own religion. That's the basic point. But it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad what's happening in Australia, and I think there's hints of it following here. I know with the euthanasia space, there's a push in the background to try and, how would you put it, remove conscience rights from euthanasia so people can't object. I mean, it's just, basically, guys, conscience rights are some of the most fundamental parts of our democracy, and it's directly under attack. Hey, just really quickly on this, there's more and more in ongoing coverage of this 2x2s. It's a religious group, a cult. A national MP is part of it. So, look, first and foremost, it looks like there is some problems within this group. But hey, look, a lot of religious groups do. So, I suppose my quick point here is not so much that they're putting the spotlight on this group. I think it's actually right and proper. But it still is a witch hunt because you're noticing two things with this, as they are, by the look, rightly pursuing what looks, some people are coming forward here in New Zealand saying, look, there's problems, there's abuse. And that's right that gets reported and sunlight put on it. But they're still trying to link it to the national MP who is not involved in any of the abuse at all. There's no links to that. It's just all guilt by association. But the second reason they put it up is this witch hunt being gleefully pursued by Herald reporters. It's funny, isn't it, that it's not being replicated into other areas like the certain Green Party MP where they just don't ask any questions in front. In fact, they run interference. So I just thought it was interesting, as I say, to point out what again is a hypocrisy. They are more than happy, the media, the mainstream media, to go chasing after some groups and then play interference with others. So I think it's bad. So guys, I'm going to leave it there. As I say, tonight we've got political playback. Bob and I will be back here live at 5. We have a whole lot of topics to discuss. As I say, we've got the social media ban that the government, well, it's not the government, the National Party is proposing. We'll talk about that because, if a National MP's got the idea, why is the government not backing it? This National MP is in trouble sending in effect confidential emails to her personal email account. Is that a problem? We'll talk around that. I say the Māori Party and their ongoing behaviours, and I'll be talking about not so much my recent Substack post, but that whole pay equity thing that happened on Tuesday, which maybe even some of you aren't aware of. But anyway, guys, I'm going to leave you for the morning. It's been lovely to have you, as always. I'm going to go and see if I can fix... Oh, I forgot to tell you, Bob as well. Where is it? Here we go. Bob's also doing his Substack. As you might guess with the look and the title, he's addressing what's happening in America, where you can wear pride symbols, you can talk about Black Lives Matter, but if you, like this, I think it was probably a basketball player, wears a t-shirt saying, I belong to Jesus, all hell breaks loose. So anyway, I just think that's a really good Substack too. But we'll be back at 5. I'm going to go and see if I can sort out all these technical issues. As I keep saying to people, normally I have this real colourful screen. Obviously the pictures are there because I can share them with you, but until I share them with you, it's just black screens. Oh, technology, eh? Who needs it? Guys, have a wonderful day. I look forward to seeing you at 5 tonight or next Tuesday.